So burp notes, what are they and why do we do them? A burp note is the note you fill out after you have your session with a client. It details what happened in the session, what skills were administered, how the client responded, and what is the plan for you and the client moving forward. BIRP, it stands for Behavior, Intervention, Response, and Plan. In your behavior section, you're going to have two paragraphs. One is the MSE, and the other is the observation paragraph. This behavior section details the client's affect, mood, emotional, and feeling state. The MSE paragraph, or mental status examination, is where you're going to document the client's affect and mood. So here are some examples of affect and mood. Affect is your observation of the client's external expression of their emotional state. This should be described in terms of range, appropriateness, intensity, and congruence with the mood. All right, some examples of an affect statement are: affect was constricted and congruent with reported depressed mood, or affect was broad and inconsistent with stated calmness. Now, this particular statement goes with your mood statement. The mood is the client's self-reported internal emotional state. You document the mood by what the client said, as well as what you observed. So some examples of a mood statement would be: client described their mood as anxious and irritable for the past several days, or the client reported feeling down but denied hopelessness. So these two things, your affect or the client's affect and the mood, go together, and they are put in your MSE paragraph. Along with your affect and mood statements, you're also going to include in the MSE the client reported or did not report any suicidal ideation, along with other statements that detail the client's emotional and mental state. Now, in your observation paragraph, this is where you put statements about the client's emotions and the client's feelings. So emotional states are short-lived, situation-specific reactions. So anger, joy, sadness, fear. You're going to document these statements, and they're going to be in observational evidence terms. So the paragraph is going to describe what actually occurred in the session. So statements like: when discussing conflict with a partner or with a sibling, the client became tearful and voice trembled, consistent with sadness. Or the client laughed loudly and smiled while recalling a positive event, which is consistent with joy. So these are the things that you actually observed as far as what the client did. So the feeling statement. Feelings are the words the client used to label their inner emotional experience. You should document these things with quotation marks, and they should be tied to the observed effect. So examples are: client reported, "I feel worthless," which is consistent with observed flat effect. Or client stated, "I feel excited," which aligns with observed animated effect. So however they label how they're feeling, this goes or is attached to your feelings response and what you then include in the observation paragraph. So again, affect and mood go in the MSE paragraph, and then emotions and feelings go in the observation paragraph. It's important that we also include clients' actual statements. So quotes, we need to see them inside of your observation paragraph. Your intervention paragraph is the paragraph where you write down the skills that you administered during the session. We want to make sure we include the name or title of the skill, as well as the page number that it comes from in the Texas curriculum. Also, sometimes during your session, you're going to have targeted case management sessions, and that is where you are giving the client resources to help them with things like getting food, helping them with help with their child, whether that is local community resources like the YMCA, or if you reached out to a coach or somebody that's connected to the client, because that is a support system, you're going to want to include those details. So again, the name of the skill that you used from the Texas curriculum. If you, in addition to that skill, used a video from YouTube, you want to include the title of the video, as well as the link to the video on YouTube. If you used a resource or told the client or the client's caregiver or parent about a resource, you want to include the name of that resource, any titles that go along with the resource as well. All right. Your response section is how the client responded to the skills that you administered. So if the client was confused, if the client was apprehensive, if the client stated things like, I don't know if I'm going to be able to do that. Whatever the client or however the client responded to the intervention that you administered, you include that in your response section. Plan section, what you plan on continuing with the client, whether that is continued from the current session, you want to carry on skills to the next session, or some other things that you as the CSSP or QMHP, you think that the client would benefit from, other skills that you are thinking about, you want to include that in the plan as well. So in our Birp notes, we want to make sure that all of our paragraphs are 3 to 4 or 5 sentences. We want to make sure it is in third person. We want to make sure you are referring to yourself as the CSSP or QMHP. Those are some details and how we want our Birp notes to go. So we want to make sure all of these things are included to make sure we can be, or we are being, the best CSSPs and QMHPs that we can be. We're not the only ones that are going to be reviewing or auditing your notes. Sometimes in the future, people from the state of Texas could also be reviewing the notes as well. So we want to make sure that we are including every detail that we need to include, and we want to make sure everything is clear as far as what we did with the client and also what we intend to do with the client for the next section. That is how your Birp notes are supposed to be filled out. And let's continue doing great work.